Hello, everyone, and thank you for watching our program/experimental series called Meet the Librarians. Today we are talking with 3 librarians from Duke University. Today is Wednesday, July the 8th, 2020, and a lot has happened this year everywhere. And these very distinguished librarians have agreed to talk about what they've been up to and to give viewers an idea of what their work in the library looks like today. Joining me are Arianne Hartsell-Gundy, head of the Humanities section and librarian for Literature and Theater Studies. Most of the time you can find her at Perkins Library at Duke University. Also joining me is Amy McDonald, assistant university archivist, mostly at the Rubenstein Library at Duke University. Also, Sarah Park is joining us. She's the librarian for engineering and computer science, mostly at Perkins Library, Duke University. So let's get started. Arianne, tell us anything you want about yourself, and we'll get going.
Okay, so I've been working at Duke University Libraries for 5 years. I have a master's in library science and a master's in comparative literature from Indiana University. I also have a bachelor's in English from the University of Missouri. Go Tigers! So I have a long-haired silver tabby named Gigi. I think he's actually still behind me. And he may be making other appearances because he loves to be on Zoom. He's actually named after the cat in the movie Kiki's Delivery Service. And I just thought I'd talk just a little bit about some hobbies I have. I don't know. So I actually volunteer with the League of Women Voters, and I volunteer with You Can Vote. I love to read, which is probably not a huge surprise. I love to play strategy board games like Settlers of Catan. I am into taking hikes with my husband, and I really like to go to the movies. So it's been really sad for me because I miss the Carolina theater so much. I usually am Friday nights at the retro movies and sometimes Wednesdays at the Movie Diva. So it's been really hard. But I was going to say that something I've really enjoyed is that every Wednesday at 8 p.m. I do the online trivia through Bull McCabe's, which has been just a blast. It's really great because they, any tip that you give, they actually give to wait staff across Durham, which I just love. And so then I'm just going to give a little shout out to my team, the Crystal Gems, and that's basically all I have in an intro.
Arianne, I do that too.
Do you?
Yes.
What's your team?
My team is called Balls Down, which is a reference to packaging knitting needles from one of my team members. So, and I've seen your name. Yeah, that's so cool.
That is great. I love the Carolina Theater too and attend a lot of the retro films. We recently saw the live screening of a film. It was different, but it was pretty cool. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Jenny Levine, Humanities and Adult Programming Coordinator for Durham County Library, and your patience is appreciated with this new format for me. So we'll continue with Arianne. Tell us about what you do and what is a liaison librarian, and what do you most enjoy about it?
Okay. So I work at the Perkins Bostock Libraries on West Campus at Duke University, and my primary role is being a liaison librarian, and that means that I support a couple of departments. I support the literature program, the English department, and the theater studies departments. And basically, I'm there to provide a link between the libraries and those departments. I do things like purchase materials, like books and journals to support their work. I teach a lot of research instruction to students. So that's anything from how to navigate something like Google Scholar or some of the databases that we pay for, to how do I evaluate the sources that I'm using, how do I integrate them into the research that I do. And then I also answer a lot of research questions. So people will come in a variety of ways and ask a question. Right now, primarily online through email or through our chat reference. And in terms of my liaison work, the questions would be anything from, can you help me find a poem, to can you help me track down some information about this novel? Can you help me find articles about a literary theory? So a lot of those kinds of things. And I work with all levels, undergrad, graduate, faculty. And that's my primary role, but then you'll hear, I think, from all of us that we wear a lot of different hats. So I do a lot of other things, and I won't name everything I do. But I do things like I purchase for our new and noteworthy, which is really fun to do. And I do things like I'm the support liaison for first generation college students. And I think that kind of relates to then you asked about what do I enjoy the most. For me, I really love the variety of work that I do. I don't do the same thing day in and day out every day. I get to do a variety of stuff. And I'm a bit of an introvert, but I also really like helping people and working with people. So I love that I get a little bit of both. So as soon as I'm tired of one role, it feels like I'm switching to something else. So I might spend my morning like trying to track down some obscure 17th century play. And then just as I'm craving people, I'm going to go do and make buttons for undergraduates in an orientation or something. It might be that I'm teaching a workshop. And then I'm gonna look at spreadsheets for a couple of hours, which is maybe not my favorite part, but at least, you know, it gives me a break. Or maybe I'm helping with our book club or something like that.
I totally understand. I love that we can do so many different things in our jobs. So now I'm going to jump over to Amy. You want to introduce yourself and tell us about what you're all about?
Sure. So I'm Amy McDonald. My official fancy title is Assistant University Archivist for the Duke University Archives. I have, like Arianne, I have an MLS, Masters of Library Science, and I got that from UNC Chapel Hill, which is also where my undergrad degree is from, which is actually kind of entertaining because what I do at the Duke University Archives is I answer reference questions and I help people research Duke history. So a little bit of divided loyalties happening. I am very excited anytime I find examples of Duke and UNC working together and cooperating, and I'm less excited about finding examples of students kind of trash talking each other in history, but there's a lot of those. So I live here in Durham. I worked at the Duke Libraries in this particular job since 2010, which kind of blows my mind to think about it. Been around the Duke Libraries as a volunteer, as an intern when I was in library school, and then as just a Rubenstein Libraries Research Services staff member since 2005. So even more mind-blowing. So I love it. It's a lot of fun. In terms of what I do in my off time. So I guess, yeah, I do trivia. I'm kind of worthless at it though. I really just kind of go to hang out with my friends. I'm a librarian. I read a lot. Most of my colleagues, given what we do, working with historical documents, most of my colleagues majored in history in college, and I majored in English and creative writing. So I still read a lot of fiction and do things like that. And I'm also really into kind of vintage and antique shopping and jewelry and all sorts of stuff. And I have a friend cat named Charles Bronson, like the actor. And he came along with my house when I bought my house because he was born at my house. So he belongs to my neighbor, but he's my friend and he comes and visits. So he's keeping me company during the quarantine.
Very cool. Well, let's check in with Sarah. I'd love to hear what you do and what you love about it and what's going on in your days these days.
Hi, my name is Sarah Park. I'm the librarian for engineering and computer science at Duke University. So my primary job is assist the students and faculty and staff with research, classroom activities, instruction, and individual research consultation. And I work with other librarians to get more money to buy more engineering resources. So yeah. So I got my MS degree in library and information science from Illinois. and then second master's in computer science from Northwest Missouri State University, where I taught computer science courses too. So about 3 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, I jumped to engineering librarian role in Illinois. And then about 3 years ago, I came here Duke, become full-time engineering librarian. My hobby, I have a million hobbies, but notorious for woodworking, or probably truthfully sawdust making.
It's really nice stuff.
So yeah, and then I do some programming, so app development when I have time, which I do not have much lately, but and then cooking, because stomach is so much close to our heart, you know. So that's what I do. Yeah.
That is so interesting. I'm reading a book in which a character is a wood carver and talks about how much passion he puts into and time and developing a piece. It sounds like a beautiful and meditative art, I think. So what I wanted to hear from, gosh, I have so many questions. I'll start with Amy. What is the archive? What is the Duke archive? And what are, I don't know, some interesting pieces of it to you?
Sure. So the Duke University Archives is responsible for documenting life as it is lived at Duke University by anyone who is a member of the Duke University community. So that means staff like me, that means students and student organizations, that means faculty, administrators, and our board of trustees. That means alums too, to some extent. So we are just particularly interested in gathering as many voices as we can about what it's like to be at Duke and be a member of this community. And that absolutely means the bad and the good. And so we're interested in serving as a place of record for everybody's experiences of Duke, and supporting those and making sure that people have a voice in Duke University's history. So we do a lot of outreach and a lot of kind of programming, a lot of help with research. I myself help anybody do research, and that doesn't mean that you have to be a Duke student or someone on campus. If you are anywhere and you have a question about something about Duke history, I'm the person. I'm happy to help and see what we can find. I lead instruction sessions for students, and I also help to collect student organization materials. So if you are an alum and you are watching this, and you have a whole box of papers and things from your time at Duke as a in a student organization or something like that, and would like to find a different home for them, get in touch. And we can talk with you about adding things like that to our collection, and then they become part of Duke's history, essentially, which is kind of the thing that I really like. I like kind of feeling like, you know, we've gathered another voice into Duke history that people can use to write hopefully more comprehensive and diverse histories about what happens at Duke. It's hard to say, you know, which collections are my favorite, because they're all my children and I love them. They're all wonderful, but I do really love student collections, student scrapbooks, student organization records, particularly things about student activism. Just because, you know, the reason we're here is for the student experience. So I want to support that. I do work, so the University Archives is part of the very long title, David M. Rubenstein Rare Book and Manuscript Library at Duke. You can see the virtual background behind me is our rare book room. I am not there, it is virtual. But we collect archival materials and manuscripts and rare books and rare printed materials and audio and film and all sorts of stuff in a number of collecting areas. So I really enjoy getting to work with my colleagues and, you know, hearing about what they've got in and what they're working with, and like the Sally Bingham Center for Women's History and Culture, or the John Hope Franklin Research Center, or our History of Advertising collections. There's always a lot going on and a lot of research happening, and we are all kind of, to a person, really excited about helping people discover our collections and learn about them. So come visit us. Well, probably email us first right now.
And one of the collections you're working on now, I believe, is COVID stories. Is that true?
We are, yeah. So there's so many museums and archives and cultural institutions across the country, across the world, who are realizing that we're in quite a historical moment right now and want to make sure that we have a diversity of firsthand perspectives of what's happening. We usually see, you know, in just kind of the way historical gathering works. Sometimes voices get left out, sometimes they get ignored, sometimes they fall by the wayside. And so we're trying to proactively correct for that in this moment. And so we are reaching out to members of the Duke community. So people currently, faculty, staff, students, and asking for your impressions of what it is to live in this moment, as broadly defined as you would like it to be. And when we say, you know, your stories, your impressions, any format is fine. So you may write a diary of what your day-to-day life is like. You may take a series of photographs, or have an art project. You might do oral histories with family and friends about what's going on. And those are all things that we'd like to preserve. If you are interested in doing that, you can sign up to participate in it. We can either, if you're not quite ready to turn something in yet, you can just sign up to get reminders about it, or if you have something that's ready to go, you can send that on to us. Then it will be preserved and it will be available for people to research. So in the future, when we're trying to kind of write the history of this period, we'll have all of these voices to draw on. I should mention that we are accepting these materials definitely through the rest of this year and beyond, because we know that, you know, right now it's July, this is still unfolding. And so people may not be ready to say, okay, I'm done, I have my story of what's going on. So take your time and put something together if you'd like to participate, and we will, when you're ready, we'll be ready to accept it from you. I should say, while we are focusing on Duke stories, the Museum of Durham History is also collecting stories from Durham community members as well.
So Duke community members can find you on the Duke Archives website, I guess?
Yep.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And speaking of being stuck indoors and reaching out to the community, Arianne, tell us about your book club. I think you've got a popular book club going on.
I do, yeah. And I have a book club that we've been doing for a couple of years, but it's been interesting in light of COVID-19, like making that shift. So I co-run the Low Maintenance Book Club with my colleague, Brittany Wofford. And we call ourselves the Low Maintenance because we aim to make it really easy for people to participate. Usually what we do is we read short things. We read short stories, we read poems, we read short plays, anything that's kind of easy that you could do in a month, because we know how busy people are. And our main community is Duke community, but we're open to anybody. And we've had undergraduates, we've had graduate students, we've had postdocs, we've had faculty, we've had staff. There's just something really fun about getting together and talking about a book when you've got like a mixture, and it's not like a classroom where the faculty member is the expert. You know, we're all talking together, and we've just had some really rich and fun conversations when we've had those variety of voices. And like I said, we read a variety of things. We try to aim for different kinds of genres and different kinds of authors. We try to get to be diverse with our choices. So we've done everything from classics to Westerns to mysteries to literary fiction, you name it, we've probably tried it at least once. And we select based on people's recommendations, but also things that Brittany and I have been reading. And sometimes we also try to do based on like something that's popular, like a film coming out or something. For example, when the movie Arrival came out, we read the novella, which was just so good. I loved the movie, and then I couldn't believe how great the story was. And if you're interested, you can actually see the selection of things we've read in the past on our webpage, which is on the main Duke Library webpage. If you put in low maintenance on our website, you'll find us and you can see everything we've read in the past. But I have to say, we shifted focus recently. So COVID-19, I don't know about others, but it feels like your schedule is sort of different. And I don't know if you have more time, but it just feels different. So we created what we call the Big Books edition of Low Maintenance. And we actually, I don't know why we had decided this, but we read David Copperfield. I don't know if you've ever read David Copperfield, but it is a feat to read it. And we divided it up over once a month for 3 months, which made it a little bit easier, but still was a lot. And we did this over Zoom, and we kept our low maintenance spirit in that. We didn't shame people if they didn't finish. Amy was involved, and we never shamed you, right, Amy?
I'm still on chapter 20.
Are you gonna keep with it though?
What?
Are you gonna keep with it?
I am, yeah. It's on my bedside table.
Nice. So people could just drop in, but we did have some people finish. And like I said, I finished it and I felt like it was a major accomplishment of 2020 for me to finish that book. So, and I was just gonna say that, again, kind of on that like time feeling weird, that I don't know about others, but my reading habits have been some days I really, really want to read. I want to escape, or I really want to learn something. And then there are days where I just cannot concentrate. And I think that is totally normal for your reading life right now, and that you should, do what makes you feel comfortable. That's part of our low maintenance kind of perspective. So what we're going to read next is actually the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. We're going to shift gears into more science fiction fantasy. We're going to divide that into 2 months because, again, we're reading something a little bit denser than we normally do, but we're still trying to spread it out. And our next session is going to be on July 29th.
Very cool. It sounds like you guys have really embraced the spirit of low maintenance and flexibility and input from everybody. That's great. That sounds like a wonderful book club. I'm going to swing back to Sarah, and I know you all had mentioned your interactions with the international students, and I was wondering what, do they need support with, and what kind of questions you get? What do you find their needs are right now?
We are still trying to figure out what they need because it's kind of a new influx of the population that we do not know very well. So we do some studies, what they want, what they need. What we noticed was that they came from different culture, that their libraries looks totally different. Some people say that their library is closed stack, they've never seen the shelves before. Or some people say, oh, libraries for textbooks. So they are kind of lending textbook libraries. Or sometimes that's the place for studies, not for books. And when we throw this thing like, do you know interlibrary loan? Like, what is it? Do you borrow books from another library? That's kind of a totally news to them. So we are, getting some new informations out there, and then so they can ask us questions. And I don't know, have you ever traveled foreign countries with different ethnic groups? I tell you this funny story. I first came to the United States when I was 18 years old from South Korea. I was a visiting student. but only 1 year. Before coming to the United States, I never seen white person before. I never seen blonde hair before. I never seen anybody with non-black colors. Everybody's the same, looks same. And I don't know how to talk this blind classmate. This professor that I, took the course, he's beautiful hairs, blonde, long, and like, I don't know how to ask questions. It hasn't really, that's many years ago, but it took me many emotional roadblocks. I'm pretty sure the new students coming from other countries now are not like me, but more international exposure. But so we can smooth our those transactions or kind of a thing. Just being friendly, welcoming, and always ready to listen to them. That's about what we try to do at this point.
That's great. They're some lucky kids, and it's so great that you have that insight of compassion and empathy. And I mean, I think all librarians really want to help people, but it's wonderful that you have that additional perspective. Um, did you all wanted to say anything about the Durham County Library, and do you use it? Or I think Arianne is a fan, I've heard.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. I am a fan of the Durham County Library.
Yay.
In fact, usually my husband and I are regular users of the Southwest branch. And recently I was a regular at the Jane Austen and Company programs that Jenny helped co-sponsor. Those were great fun. We would read authors that were contemporaries of Jane Austen, and I was just totally geeking out on all of that. But now I am a heavy user of your Overdrive, and I'm a big fan of Acorn. I've got it on my Roku, and it's helping during these times.
Very cool. So you get TV, you get to listen to books, download books. It's been a popular service. We just started Takeout, so you can order physical books and collect them and pick them up and return them. How about you, Amy? Any connections to the Durham County Library?
Oh, yes. So archivists always kind of flock together. The Rubenstein staff still works very closely with the staff from the North Carolina collection, and we'll, go back and forth with each other, sometimes with reference questions, like, I'm sending you someone who is really interested in this area of Durham, and we didn't have as much, but we thought you might, or they'll, send me people who are interested in some Duke history or whatever. So we work a lot with the North Carolina collection. I actually, before I had my present job, I did freelance archival processing for the North Carolina collection. So that's kind of taking stacks of paper and other types of materials and organizing it and making it make sense in some way so that people can research and people can find things in it. And so I processed the People's Alliance records. So People's Alliance, long time progressive organization in town. And I processed, since we were talking about the Carolina Theater, I processed the records of the Carolina Theater, particularly its renovation, which was a lot of fun because I got to read about all of the blueprints and all of the terracotta designs and things. In that space. So I got to work with both of those, and that was a lot of fun. So they have, the North Carolina has some amazing Durham history collections, and they're growing all the time. So check them out.
Yes, and check them out virtually on our website. They have great collections. Sarah, did you want to comment on the Durham County Library? No pressure.
I have to confess that I live out of county.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I'll give you another question then. Do you have any advice that you would give to a current library science or computer science or library information science student? Something that has helped you most in your job that you didn't realize in school once you got in the job, or
Well, when opportunity comes, grab it.
Ah,
Um, you never know when it comes, where it comes. But small project become a snowball, and then that becomes big, and then your name's out there, and you become high demand person.
then
So
you're
do
being
not hesitate. What?
then you're being interviewed by the Durham County.
Yes, of course. Something. And that's my advice for the entry level, positions. But then people establish in their career, then they can look at the population survey. Who are our population to serve? And they will tell how many international students are there and how many people coming from another states, or all different numbers, and then you can um, strategically set some kind of a plans and outreach programs to advocate library services and libraries.
great. How about you, Arianne? Anything you'd tell your younger self or the next generation?
Um, I would say, I don't know if it was a surprise, but I've definitely learned that you have to be willing to continually learn. There's always new things that you're
Oh my
going
gosh.
to want to discover. There's just keeping track of the resources available. The platforms are always changing. You know, you never know when you're going to end up having to teach or present on Zoom. And then, I think Sarah kind of pointed to that too, that there's often maybe a new population or a population that you suddenly realize that you need to spend more time to understand. There's new teaching techniques that you want to, spend time on. And then just, I think probably true for most librarians that having some understanding of what's happening in the world around you really can help inform your work. I collect literature for our collection, and I find it's important to understand, things that are happening around me and to know what people might be interested in. So just, yeah, be prepared you're always going to be wanting to go to a training. You're always going to be reading professional literature as well as other kinds of things.
I agree. I feel like so many things I do in my life inform my job every minute, whether it's the news or the TV or, following a story. It all counts. It all adds up. How about you, Amy? Did we take all your answers?
No, I mean, those were answers. But I think what I would say too is, especially in archives and special collections, it's a smaller field. And it's always good. Feel free to reach out and talk and ask if you can talk with any of us, or find the special collections at a university or a college or a public library or whatever historical society near you, and talk to the archivists and the special collections librarians about their job, and see if it fits with what you want to do, and ask them, I think in particular, what they didn't learn in library school that they need for their job, because that's kind of a good thing to know. And I would also say library school is fantastic, but your classwork is only part of really what you need to be a librarian. It's great if you can find an internship. And I do fully believe that internships should be paid, or you should be getting course credit or something. You need to be getting compensated for your work. But find an internship and spend and get a lot of experience things under your belt. If you can, see if you can find internships at one or two different libraries. I only ever worked at Duke. And as I grow in my career, I sometimes wonder, oh, you know, it would actually be really useful if I knew how they do things at other libraries, so I could kind of compare and weigh different options and make decisions. So please, we are always, all of my colleagues, we really believe in kind of helping future librarians who are coming along, because people helped us when we were in school. And so we want to help the next generation. So always feel free to reach out to us, and we'll set up a time if you can come to Duke after the pandemic is over. We'll buy you coffee, or we can talk to you on the phone or through Zoom, just like this. But yeah, we're happy to tell you all about the work and what you can expect.
Very well said. It sounds like we're all in agreement based on our fierce nodding of your sentiments. That is great. Now, if you guys have any other final questions or thoughts for each other, I think we've covered pretty much everything, but you're welcome to give each other shout outs or encouragements otherwise.
I'll just say that something that I love about Duke libraries, and I'm sure this is true of a lot of libraries, is that I can tell you I've worked with Sarah and Amy like on a variety of different things over the years, because even though we do different work, we will intersect. And I really love the opportunity to get to work with different colleagues and learn their perspectives.
That is so nice to hear, because it seems like there's so many libraries and it's such a big staff. Just mind-boggling how many folks work in different areas to keep the libraries going. But it's great that you get to know each other. I guess you could say the same here. We have about 200 folks, Durham County Library, and whenever we get the opportunity to work together, it's always great. Anyway, I really appreciate what you all do, and I want to thank you very much for your time and your knowledge and sharing your time for this program. I'm going to stop recording and give you all my kudos again, and thanks, and keep up the good work and stay safe.
Thank you for having us.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.